The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of my own bedroom. Except Grayson didn't know it was mine alone. Did you really think I'd stay with you? My husband's laughter cut through the air like broken glass. He stood there, shirt half unbuttoned, my best friend Ainsley wrapped around him like expensive jewelry. You're pathetic, Temperance. A placeholder. She's been the real one for 2 years. Ainsley smirked, running her fingers through his hair. Honestly, Temp, you made it so easy. All those girls' trips, business conferences. She giggled. We were in Aspen, in your cabin. My hands trembled, but not from heartbreak, from the weight of a secret folded in my purse. A single piece of paper that would destroy them both. What happened next? Well, let me take you back 3 months. Because the sweetest revenge isn't served hot or cold. It's served with paperwork. Before we dive in, do me a favor? Hit that like button if you've ever trusted the wrong person. Drop a comment telling me. Would you stay silent or fight back? And subscribe because this story has a twist you won't see coming. Now let's get into it. 3 months earlier, life looked picture perfect. Our Calabasas estate sprawled across 4 acres of manicured lawn and infinity pools. Grayson worked in tech acquisitions, or so he claimed during our dinner parties. I ran a boutique consulting firm I'd built from scratch, the kind that Fortune 500 companies called when they needed problems fixed quietly. We'd been married 6 years. Met at a charity gala in Newport Beach where he'd charmed me with stories about his startup days and dreams of empire building. He was magnetic. The kind of man who walked into rooms and made them smaller, pulled all the oxygen toward himself. I fell hard. Stupid? Maybe. But love makes fools of everyone eventually. Ainsley had been my friend since college. Kappa Delta sisters, late-night study sessions, shared secrets over cheap wine that became expensive wine as our careers took off. She was godmother to the child we'd always planned but never quite got around to having. She had keys to our house, knew our alarm codes, spent Christmas mornings in our kitchen making her famous cinnamon rolls. Trust is a funny thing. You don't notice it until it's gone. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday. I came home early from a client meeting in San Francisco. They'd canceled last minute. Found Grayson's car in the driveway at 2 p.m. on a workday. Weird, but not alarming. Maybe he was sick? I walked into the side entrance, the one that led past his study, and heard her laugh. Not just any laugh. Ainsley's laugh. The one she reserved for flirting, breathy, and performative, coming from behind his closed office door. My heart did this strange stutter-step thing. The door wasn't fully latched. Through the crack, I saw her perched on his desk, legs crossed, wearing a dress I'd helped her pick out last month. His hand rested on her knee. We have to be more careful, Grayson was saying. She's getting suspicious. She's too trusting, Ainsley replied. Always has been. Remember sophomore year when she believed I was visiting my grandmother every weekend? She laughed again. I was with Tyler Morrison. My lungs forgot how to work. This house, though, Ainsley continued, running her fingers along his desk. When you finally leave her, think we can keep it. I've already mentally redecorated the master bedroom. Grayson pulled her closer. Baby, once the divorce goes through, we'll get half of everything. She put my name on everything when we got married. Stupid, trusting Temperance. I backed away slowly, carefully, like retreating from a wild animal. In my car, hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel, my phone buzzed. Ainsley. Girls' night this Friday? Miss you. The audacity. I didn't cry. That's the thing about real betrayal. It's too big for tears at first. It sits in your chest like a stone, cold and heavy, making every breath an effort. I drove to the beach, sat in my car watching waves, and made a decision. If they want to play games, I'd play better. First, I smiled through dinner that night, asked Grayson about his day. He lied smoothly. Conference calls, difficult clients, boring meetings. I nodded, poured him wine, pretended my world hadn't just collapsed. You're quiet, he said, studying me. Tired, I replied. Big project wrapping up. He squeezed my hand across the table, and I didn't flinch. That's how good I was. Second, I started documenting everything. Bought a voice-activated recorder online. Hid it in his study. Within a week, I had hours of recordings. Planning sessions about their future. His complaint about me. I was boring, frigid, too focused on work. Her reassurances that I'd never see it coming. She's so oblivious, Ainsley said in one recording, her voice dripping with contempt. Still thinks we're best friends. Still texts me about her feelings. God, it's almost sad. Almost. Third, I checked our financial accounts. This is where things got interesting. Grayson handled our joint finances, or thought he did. But I'd always maintained separate business accounts for my firm, something he'd waved off as cute when I'd insisted on it years ago. What he didn't know, my firm had tripled its revenue in the past 3 years. While he was playing Startup Bro, I'd been quietly building an empire. The boutique consulting firm had contracts with 7 Fortune 500 companies. My personal net worth was sitting at $12 million and climbing. But the estate? I pulled up the deed one night after Grayson fell asleep. We bought it 5 years ago, right after a major deal I closed had brought in a huge bonus. I put down an entire down payment, $800,000 from my own accounts. The monthly mortgage? Also me. I'd set up automatic payments from my business account years ago. Grayson contributed nothing. His startup had been hemorrhaging money since year 2. I'd been covering his credit cards, his car payments, his entire lifestyle, while he pretended to be a tech mogul. The deed listed both our names. Listed past tense. Because here's what I'd done 18 months ago during a routine financial planning session with my attorney. Transferred the property entirely into my name through a quitclaim deed. It was legal, simple, required only a notary and his signature, which I'd gotten by burying in a stack of routine financial documents he never read. He'd signed while watching a Lakers game, barely glancing at the papers. The house was mine. Solely, completely, legally mine. Grayson had no idea. Friday arrived, girls' night with Ainsley. She showed up at my door in designer jeans and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. "You look tired," she said, kissing my cheek. The same lips that had been on my husband. We went to our usual wine bar in Santa Monica. She ordered a $200 bottle, like always, stuck me with a bill like always. I paid without comment. "So," she said, swirling her glass, "how are things with Grayson?" I could have confronted her right there. Instead, I smiled. "Good. Really good, actually." Her expression flickered disappointment. "Oh, that's great. How about you? Still dating that guy from work?" "We broke up," she said quickly. "He was boring." "Boring, right? Because she'd been busy with my husband." "I'm sorry. I lied smoothly. You deserve someone amazing." "Thanks, babe." She touched my hand, and I wanted to break her fingers. "You're such a good friend." The recording device in my purse captured every word. That night, I came home to find Grayson in the kitchen, making himself a sandwich. "How was girls' night?" he asked, not looking up. "Fine." Ainsley says hi. He smiled, and I saw it now, the smugness. The certainty that I was too stupid to notice. "I'm heading to Austin next week," he announced. "Tech conference." Ainsley mentioned she has a work trip to Austin. I said casually. His hand paused mid-reach for the mustard, just for a second. Then, coincidence. Totally. I went upstairs, climbed into my bed, and pulled out my phone. My attorney had sent the final documents that afternoon. Everything was ready. Sunday morning, Grayson's mother called. Paloma was old money San Francisco, the type who wore pearls to brunch and judged you for using the wrong fork. She never liked me. I wasn't from the right families, didn't have the right pedigree, but she loved her son blindly. "Temperance," she said in that crisp voice. "Grayson mentioned you've been struggling with the mortgage payments." My blood went cold. "I'm sorry." He said the house is underwater financially, that you've been using his money to cover the gap. The absolute audacity. "Paloma, I'm prepared to help," she continued. "But I need you to understand that if you divorce, Grayson deserves half of everything. He built that house with you. Built. This man had built nothing except lies." "Of course," I said sweetly. "We're not divorcing, though. Everything's fine." "Good." because Grayson deserves a woman who appreciates his sacrifices. I hung up and laughed until I cried. He'd been setting the stage, painting me as a financial drain, the struggling wife, the burden, making sure that when he left me for Ainsley, he looked like the victim, except he'd forgotten one tiny detail. I had accountants, and attorneys, and a paper trail that would bury him. The Austin conference happened last month. They weren't subtle. Posted Instagram stories from the same restaurant, the same hotel bar, careful not to show each other but obvious to anyone paying attention. I played devastated wife. Called Ainsley crying about how lonely I was. She comforted me via text while probably lying next to my husband. They came back cocky. Grayson started dropping hints about needing space, about how marriage takes work, and maybe we're not putting in enough effort. Translation: I'm about to leave you. I nodded along. Suggested couples therapy. He agreed, knowing he'd never go. Ainsley came over for coffee, sat in my kitchen, and talked about her new boyfriend. He's incredible, she gushed. So successful, so confident. Everything I've ever wanted. I'm happy for you, I said, refilling her cup. You deserve that too. Tempt someone who sees your worth. The irony could have killed less immortals. Last week, everything came to a head. I accidentally left my laptop open to an email from my attorney. Subject line, Estate ownership documents. Grayson saw it. I know because his entire energy shifted. That night, he suggested we talk about our future. I knew what was coming. The conversation happened in our living room. The one with the fireplace I'd personally designed, the custom built-ins I commissioned, the view of the canyon I'd fallen in love with. Grayson sat across from me, attempting to look regretful. Temperance. I think we need to be honest with each other. Okay, I said calmly. I'm not happy. Haven't been for a while. I see. I think we got married too young. Wanted different things. Grew apart. Standard divorce script. I almost yawned. I think we should separate, he continued. Amicably. Split everything fairly. Fairly, I repeated. 50-50. That's fair, right? This man. This absolute clown of a man. What about the house? I asked. His eyes lit up. He thought I was negotiating. Well, we're married. Community property state. I'm entitled to half. There it was. The real play. He didn't just want the house. He wanted my entire empire. Everything I'd built while he played pretend entrepreneur. Interesting, I said. I've already talked to a lawyer, he added, dropping the pretense. You can't fight this. California law is clear. Is it? Stop being difficult. His mask slipped, showing the ugliness underneath. You think you're so smart with your little business, your consultancy. None of that matters. I'm taking half. And Ainsley, the question hung in the air like smoke. His face went white. What? Your girlfriend, my best friend, the woman you've been sleeping with for 2 years. I don't. I pulled out my phone, pressed play on a recording. She's so oblivious. Still thinks we're best friends. Ainsley's voice filled the room. Grayson stood up. You recorded us. You betrayed me in my own house. I documented it. You psycho. Sit down. Something in my voice made him freeze. I stood up, walked to my bag, pulled out a folder. Let's talk about fairness, Grayson. Fair would be acknowledging that this house, solely in my name, transferred legally 18 months ago with your signature. That's not. Fair would be recognizing that my business is mine alone. Prenup clause you signed. Separate property for pre-marriage assets and their growth. His face was ashen now. Fair would be you getting exactly what you contributed to this marriage. I dropped the folder on the coffee table, which is nothing. You can't do this. I already did. The door opened. Ainsley walked in. I'd given her my alarm code years ago, and she still used it freely. She froze when she saw us. Perfect timing, I said. Ainsley stood in the doorway, keys still in her hand, wearing the diamond bracelet Grayson had bought her for her birthday, with my credit card. I'd later discover. Temp, she said slowly. What's going on? Sit, I said. I don't. Sit. She sat. Grayson looked like he might vomit. I pulled out a second folder. Ainsley Monroe, born in Scottsdale, moved to California for college, marketing director at Brennan and Associates. Or you were, until you got fired 3 months ago for falsifying expense reports. Her face went paper white. You've been lying about having a job, I continued, living off credit cards, and I glanced at Grayson, my husband's money, which is actually my money since I've been funding his lifestyle. How did you? I know everything, I said simply. The Austin trips, the weekend in Napa you told me was a yoga retreat, the apartment in Silver Lake he's been paying for. I looked at Grayson with marital funds, which makes it financial infidelity and grounds for fault-based divorce in California. Grayson found his voice. You're insane. I'm thorough. I pulled out page after page. Bank statements, hotel receipts, text messages I'd recovered from his cloud backup. He'd used the same password for everything, the idiot. 2 years of lies. I said, 2 years of you. I pointed at Ainsley, pretending to be my friend while sleeping with my husband, and you. I turned to Grayson, spending my money on your mistress while planning to divorce me and take half of everything. We love each other, Ainsley said weakly. I laughed, actually laughed. Love, right? Is that why you texted your ex-boyfriend last week asking if he wanted to reconnect? Or why Grayson here has been on 3 dating apps under a fake name? Grayson's head snapped toward Ainsley. You what? You're on dating apps? She shot back. Oh, this is beautiful, I said. You don't even trust each other. We can explain, Grayson started. Explain to your attorney. I interrupted. Divorce papers are being filed tomorrow morning. Fault-based. Adultery, financial infidelity, fraud. Take your pick. You can't kick me out, Grayson said. This is my house. I smiled. Actually smiled. That's the beautiful part, Grayson. It's not. I pulled out the final document. The deed, notarized, legal, absolutely ironclad. This house is solely in my name. Has been for 18 months. You signed it yourself. Remember that Lakers game? Stack of papers I needed you to review. His hands trembled as he took the document. Read it. Reread it. No, he whispered. Yes. So here's what's going to happen. You have 24 hours to remove your belongings. After that, the locks change and you're officially trespassing. You can't. I can. I already called my attorney. Police have been notified. You can test this, and every recording, every receipt, every text message goes public. Your mother finds out exactly who you are. Your business contacts. See what kind of man they're dealing with. Temperance, please. The begging. God, the begging. You should have thought about that before you called me pathetic. I said quietly, before you laughed about betraying me, before you spent 2 years making a fool of me in my own home. I turned to Ainsley, who was crying now. Real tears, not the performative kind. And you're out too. Tonight, lose my number. If I see you anywhere near me or this property, I'm filing harassment charges. We were friends. We were never friends. Friends don't do this. Where am I supposed to go? She sobbed. That's not my problem anymore. Grayson tried everything that night. First, anger, throwing furniture, screaming about lawyers and lawsuits and how he'd destroy me. I called security. 2 guards I'd hired that afternoon escorted him to the guest house to pack. Then bargaining. Showed up at the master bedroom door at midnight, crying, saying he'd made a mistake, that he loved me, that we could fix this. You had 2 years to fix it, I said to the locked door. Time's up. Finally, threats. My mother will bury you in court. Your mother doesn't know you're broke, that your startup is a failed idea you abandoned 2 years ago, that you've been living off your wife's money while cheating on her. Silence. Tell her, I said, please. I'd love to see her face when she realizes her perfect son is a fraud. He left at dawn. I watched from the window as he loaded suitcases into his car, the Tesla I'd bought him for his birthday. Keys, I called out. He turned confused. The car, it's in my name. You're not insured. Leave the keys. His face contorted with rage. But he dropped them on the driveway. Ainsley had slunk out around 3 a.m. Didn't even try to say goodbye. The divorce papers were filed Monday morning. Grayson hired an attorney, some shark from Beverly Hills who took one look at the documentation and told him he had no case. He tried anyway, contested the deed transfer, claimed I'd coerce him into signing. My attorney, brilliant woman named Dakota, who'd built her career destroying cheating husbands, presented the notarized document, the witnesses, the video footage from our home security showing him signing voluntarily. Case dismissed. He demanded spousal support. Dakota laughed in court, presented evidence of his affairs, his misuse of marital funds, his lies about employment. Judge denied it. But what about community property? He argued. Her business. Prenuptial agreement, Your Honor, Dakota said smoothly. All premarital assets and their growth remain separate property. Mr. Thorne signed it willingly. He had. I'd insisted on it before the wedding. And he'd signed because he was so confident in his own success that he never imagined I'd be the breadwinner. Karma's funny that way. The final settlement. He got his clothes, his personal items, and exactly $15,000, half of the only truly joint account we'd had. Everything else, the house, the cars, my business, our investments, stayed with me. He moved into a studio apartment in Van Nuys. No view, no infinity pool, no wife to fund his fantasy life. Ainsley tried to text me 2 weeks after everything imploded. Ainsley, can we talk? I made a mistake. I blocked her. She showed up at my office. Security escorted her out. Left voicemails crying about how sorry she was, how Grayson had seduced her, how she never meant to hurt me. Every voicemail went straight to my attorney as evidence for the harassment case I was building just in case. Then the really satisfying part happened. Remember how I mentioned she'd been fired? Turns out her former employer had been quietly investigating. When the divorce became public, small circles in our industry, they reached out to my attorney. Ainsley had been embezzling, small amounts over 2 years, but added up to $75,000. They filed charges. I didn't have to do anything. Just watched as her world collapsed the way she tried to collapse mine. She reached out one final time, from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown, I'm being arrested. Please, you're the only person who can help me. I stared at that message for a long time, then replied, You should have thought about that before you decorated my bedroom in your head. Blocked the number. Paloma called exactly once after the divorce finalized. You destroyed my son, she said coldly. Your son destroyed himself. He loved you. He loved my money. There's a difference. You're cruel, Temperance. Vindictive. I'm honest. Something your son never learned. This isn't over. Actually, it is. Don't call again. I hung up on Old Money San Francisco and felt absolutely nothing. Here's what nobody tells you about revenge. It's not the explosion that changes you. It's what comes after. The house felt different without Grayson. Bigger. Quieter. Mine. I redecorated the master bedroom. Burned the sheets. Replaced the furniture. Painted the walls a deep navy he'd always hated. Ainsley's cinnamon rolls never appeared in my kitchen again. I learned to make my own. They tasted better. My business thrived. Without the constant drain of Grayson's ego and expenses, I expanded, hired 3 new consultants, took on 2 Fortune 100 companies. Revenue hit $18 million in the first year post-divorce. I dated, casually at first, then more seriously. Met a man named Emmett who was a philosophy professor at Pepperdine. Kind, genuine, the opposite of Grayson's performative charm. Why me? He asked on our 5th date. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone. I said honestly, I want someone real. He understood, never pushed, never demanded access to my finances or my house or my life until I offered. We took it slow. God, it felt good to take something slow. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Grayson at Whole Foods in Malibu. He looked terrible, thinner, older, the kind of worn down that comes from reality finally catching up. He was buying ramen, budget brand. I was buying steaks for a dinner party I was hosting. Our eyes met across the produce section. He approached. I didn't run. Temperance, he said quietly. Grayson, you look good. Thank you. Silence hung between us like smoke. I'm sorry, he said finally, for everything. I was awful to you. I studied him, looked for manipulation, for angles, found only exhaustion. Yes, I agreed. You were. I lost everything. You threw it away. I know. He shifted uncomfortably. Ainsley and I didn't work out. I'm shocked, I said flatly. She was using me. For money. For status. The irony nearly killed me. And you were using me for the same thing. He flinched. I was. You deserve better. I know. Another silence. Are you happy? He asked. I thought about my house, my business, Emmett's laugh, the freedom of sleeping in my own bed without wondering who was betraying me. Yes, I said. I really am. Something broke in his expression. I'm glad. Really? Are you? He laughed bitterly. No, but I should be. I picked up my stakes. Goodbye, Grayson. Temp, don't. We're not friends. We're not anything. I've moved on. You should too. I walked away. Didn't look back. A year after the divorce, Paloma died. I heard through mutual connections. Sent flowers to the funeral. Not for her, but because I wasn't petty. Grayson called me a week later. She left me nothing, he said without preamble. I'm sorry. Her will. Everything went to my sister. She wrote that I'd squandered every advantage and didn't deserve her legacy. I sat down, shocked despite myself. She found out, he continued, about Ainsley, about the lies. A friend of hers saw us together and told her everything. Grayson, I'm not calling for sympathy. I'm calling because you were right. About all of it. I destroyed everything good in my life chasing things that didn't matter. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know you weren't wrong to leave. You weren't cruel. You were protecting yourself from someone who would have taken everything and given nothing. I closed my eyes. Thank you for saying that. It's the truth. He paused. I heard you're engaged. I am. Emmett had proposed 2 months ago. Small ceremony planned for spring. Good. That's really good, Temp. I hope he knows how lucky he is. He does. Okay. I needed to say that. Goodbye. Goodbye, Grayson. He hung up. I never heard from him again. Here's what I learned from the worst betrayal of my life. Trust isn't stupid. Trusting the wrong people is different from being trusting. Kindness isn't weakness. But allowing people to weaponize your kindness against you is. Money doesn't buy happiness. But financial independence sure as hell buys freedom. Revenge isn't always bitter. Sometimes it's just clarity. The satisfaction of standing up for yourself when no one else would. And love? Real love doesn't mock you, doesn't undermine you, doesn't spend 2 years plotting your destruction. Real love shows up, supports you, celebrates your success instead of resenting it. Emmett and I got married last spring. Small ceremony, just close friends, real ones this time. People I'd carefully vetted, slowly trusted. We kept my house. He moved in, respected that it was mine, never tried to claim it. This is your kingdom, he said on our wedding night, looking out at the canyon view. I'm just lucky to be here. Our kingdom now, I corrected and meant it. Sometimes I drive past Grayson's old startup office, the one that never quite launched, the dream that never materialized. It's a yoga studio now. The universe has a sense of humor. I don't hate him anymore. Hatred requires energy, attention, emotion. He doesn't deserve any of that. Ainsley served 8 months for embezzlement. Got out last fall. I heard she moved to Portland, working retail, rebuilding from nothing. I don't think about her either. Because here's the truth they don't want you to know. The best revenge isn't what you do to someone. It's who you become without them. I became successful, independent, genuinely happy. They became cautionary tales. And every time I walked to my front door, my house, my life, I remember that moment in the bedroom when Grayson called me pathetic. He was wrong. I was never pathetic. I was just patient. And patience, as it turns out, is the longest game of all. So that's my story. The estate he never owned. The revenge he never saw coming. The life I built from the ashes of betrayal. If you made it this far, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. What would you have done differently? Would you have forgiven them, taken them back, or done exactly what I did? Hit that like button if this story resonated with you. If you've ever been betrayed, underestimated, or counted out. Subscribe because I've got more stories coming. And trust me, they only get better. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they're not weak for protecting themselves, that they're not cruel for demanding respect, that they deserve better than scraps from people who see them as placeholders. Remember, you're not pathetic for trusting. You're strategic for learning. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strong, and never let anyone make you small. Yendi.